Welcome to the Explain It podcast. I am your host, Ingryd Hernandez. I am very excited about today's guests, and because of way more than one thing. This amazing human being is such a giving soul, and not only that, but is super talented in both the real estate world and in also getting your mindset right so that you're setting yourself up for success. So I welcome my friend, my partner, my kid's uncle, mindset Marlon, Mr. Marlon Johnson. How are you?
Hey, what's up, Ingrid? I'm doing good.
Yeah, you're Theo Marlon, man. Like this is like,
Yeah. No, I
well,
love you. I love your kids. I love your family. I'm excited to be here.
thank you. Awesome. I am super excited to have you because 2026 is just around the corner. There's so many people who reach out in one way or another. I have the extraordinary pleasure of being able to meet a lot of folks who come into real estate for the first time. And, it's so interesting because all the questions they start with have really nothing to do with real estate you've taught me this, and it's all about finding clarity first, like
Yeah.
actually taking the time of not having all of the distractions and actually get to know who you are and what you want. That is such a hard thing for people. So I'm excited about having you here because I know you've had some pretty amazing masterminds in the past and had incredible breakthroughs. Oh my gosh, we have a couple of great stories around that. I don't know if we'll share them, but and I just feel like you are such a value for anybody who is an entrepreneur, whether you're already entrepreneuring or if you are somebody getting started. So um, tell us, Marlon, how did you get in this game and why should people hear you out?
Yeah. Well, I guess we could start off with why I got into the game of entrepreneurship, real estate investing, and kind of give people my backstory because I was one of those people that I I wanted more from life, and I realized the path I was on wasn't going to get me there. And I was doing the very traditional path. And so I was the son of immigrant parents, family came here, education extremely important to my parents. So I was following I guess you'd call it the traditional system, the traditional path of go to school, get good grades, get college education, and then be able to put yourself into position to get a high paying job. So I was actually on track to become a physical therapist, to go out and to pursue that, get doctorates in physical therapy, have that cushy six-figure job. And ultimately, as I was en route to do that, I was living in New York at that time. I was living at home with my mom and my sister. I was working three jobs just to cover my own bills and my own expenses and to help pay for college as I was going through it. I was taking full-time credits in the semester. And a part of my credits, a part of what I had to do for school was I had to go and do what they call like volunteer hours or clinical hours
Mhm.
inside of a physical therapy setting. And I got to do that to my benefit. I learned I didn't want to do that for the rest of my life. So I got
Mm.
to like test drive out what the rest of my life would look like if I got this job. And I just remembered one night I'm standing in the catering hall. I used to work at this restaurant called the Elks Lodge. And I'm mopping the floor. I used to do this where after I was done like bussing and waitering for the night, I would stay after and they would pay me an extra $100 to just do the janitorial work. So I'd go mop the floors, clean up the bar, clean up the bathrooms, that kind of thing. So it's a Friday night. I'm inside the building. It's about 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm by myself. And Ingrid, as I'm mopping the floor, I just like have this moment where I look into the kitchen through the door from the bar and I can see the shiny pots, right? Like I just finished shining all the pots and cleaning everything and putting it away. And I'm looking at those pots and I'm thinking to myself, Ingrid, I'm going to come back here tomorrow. And like around 4 p.m., this place is going to be a mess. Those pots are going to be burned again. There's going to be stuff all on the ground, and I'm going to have to just be here cleaning it up. And how many times have I lived this day over and over? I
Mhm.
felt like I was living in Groundhog's Day. I was reliving the same day over and over and over. And I wanted more from my life, but I was just like, the path I'm on isn't going to get me there. And I actually got upset. Like I was never like, I'm not an angry person, but like in that moment, I threw the mop down on the floor, and I closed my eyes and I did something that I now refer to as the rocking chair experiment. And this
Mhm.
was just very organically. It wasn't like I was planning to do this. Threw the mop down on the ground, closed my eyes, and I saw myself as an 80-year-old man sitting on a rocking chair on the front porch of his house.
Mhm.
And I was there in the vision. So I was able to walk over to him and I recognized him as me. And I asked him, I said, "Hey, what's like what was our life like? I'm curious. Like, how often do you get to talk to yourself?" And he starts telling me, he was like, "We did it. We finished college. We got our doctorates in physical therapy. We got the job as a physical therapist, which started around 80K. And he told me we kept working and working our way up. So we're earning around like 140, $150,000 a year. We bought a house in the suburbs in Long Island where I grew up, got the 3-bed, 2-bath, white picket fence, 2 kids, that traditional thing. We even had one of those little dogs, right? Like
Mhm.
one of the ones that I don't really like because I'm not a little dog guy. But in this vision, he told me we had a little dog that kind of barks a little too much for my own liking.
Mm.
And it was interesting. As he was describing the life we had,
Mhm.
I could feel an emotion coming from him. And I asked him, I was like, what's that? Like, what am I feeling from you? Because it felt heavy. Like, as he was
Mm.
explaining this stuff to me, logically, I know this sounds like you did all the things and you did it right and you have a good life. But he starts explaining to me when I ask him, like, what's this feeling? He just starts to say, like, I just, I do wish, I wish I would have. Wish you would have what? I wish I would have. Go on, right? And like I'm feeling it, Ingrid. I'm feeling the emotion I'm picking up on. It's regret. He's got regret.
Mm.
And I'm asking, like, what do you wish you would have what? And he just says, I wish I would have gone for it. And again, like I want more details. Like gone for what? Like let's fix it. Gone for what do you wish you would have gone for? And then he found himself in a loop. Like he's just, I wish I would have gone for it. Like he's not listening to me anymore. This is just a man haunted by the past, haunted by the decisions that he didn't make. And I found
Mm.
myself back in the present moment, back in the Elks Lodge, standing there in the bar, still by myself. And in that moment, I was like, holy moly, like I'm not going to be that man. I'm not going to arrive near my deathbed with a list of regrets on the things I didn't do. And so in that moment, and I don't recommend this, I'm not a financial advisor or anybody. Like, this is not my financial advice, but in that moment, I quit my job, Ingrid.
Oof.
Right? Like I just like flat out, there was no more thinking about it. And it's kind of funny because it's 1 o'clock in the morning, right? So it's like I actually had to come back the next day to quit for real because like they were good to me. I wasn't gonna just never show up again. But I knew in that moment that what I was doing wasn't leading me to the life that I wanted to live. And I didn't have exact clarity yet on what I was going to do, but it's funny. I look back and Oprah Winfrey, she said something that has resonated with me. She said, when a person is in a position of not knowing what they want to do, the best place they can be is knowing what they don't want.
Yep.
Getting clear on this is not for me is just as powerful to help you identify what is for you. And it's a good starting point. So for the people right now that are listening, I really want, like, that's a note taker for y'all. If you're in a moment of, hey, I'm lacking clarity behind what is for me as I'm thinking about 2026, as I'm mapping out the future for my family, the future for my business, the future for myself. And I'm feeling that I don't have this beautiful, well thought out document that says this is exactly what 2026 is going to be. I'm going to recommend you start with identifying, well, based on your life experiences up until now, what have you learned that's not for you? Because there are certain things that some people love to do that others don't. Some of you are night owls and you like to stay up all night and work. Others are morning people. Some of you like to travel. Some of you like to stay put. And so ultimately, you've started to discover as life has gone on things that are not for you. Some of you are like,
Mhm.
hey, I'm not a salesperson. I'm more of a systems person. Great. So hey, a part of what I'm building should not involve me having to interact face to face with people for 10 hours a day. That would be absolutely horrendous for me. But someone like myself, I'm like, actually, no, I don't want to be behind a computer screen all day. I would actually much prefer being in front of people. So that first step of identifying what's not for you. And so on my personal journey, I identified clearly that the path I was walking wasn't for me. And that was my jump off point to start seeking out what was for me. And it eventually led me into the world of real estate, which, funny enough, Ingrid, I thought when I found my first mentor and I thought when I found my first real estate coaching program and mentorship program that I had figured it out. Like now I've got the answer. I paid $25,000 for a program. I've got this mentor. I've got a 12-month runway for how long they told me the program was going to last. So I'm thinking my first year, I'm gonna pop off. I'm gonna make $1 million in my first year. That was I remember in October 2019, I signed up for this real estate education course because by the way, guys, like to give you some context on time, it was around the beginning of 2019 is when I quit that job. It's when so there was like this kind of in between phase where I'm trying a little bit of everything. I'm taste testing. I'm lost. I'm all over the place, and I finally bite the bullet and get a coach. I get a mentor. And I should say I got a mentoring program. I didn't have like a direct, like I can pick up the phone and call him at any moment, but I was inside of a community of sorts. I was inside of an education program. There really wasn't a community there, but I'm inside this education program, right? The Rich Dad, Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad education program. Spent $25,000 of money I did not have to get into this program. So I'm all in, right? I'm bought in. 12-month runway. And I'm given all this education, I'm given all this information. And what I discovered was as I stepped into that world, there were so many avenues, even inside of a small lane of just real estate entrepreneurship, that I was trying to go down every road that this highway had. I was trying to go down every path. And even there, I was struggling to get traction, build out my business. It wasn't happening instantaneously. And I was getting overwhelmed. And I kept thinking to myself, well, let me just educate more. Let me just watch more videos. Let me just watch more Zooms. Let me just read more books. And the more educated I got, funny enough, the more overwhelmed I started to feel. And I started to realize like more is not necessarily the answer, at least not more information. It was starting to discover that it was funny. I went through a high performance coach, and she was the one that started teaching me that less is more. She started to get me to narrow my focus down again. And, maybe we'll talk about this. I'll kind of talk about the clarity tool that I use as a means of that, but I'm just kind of giving like background on, even though I had all the resources, I wasn't producing results because I found myself chasing everything all at once. And I was going in every direction and yet ending up nowhere all at the same time. And that was really frustrating. And so I have a heart for when I see people doing this, when they're inside of a program, they have all the resources, they're still not producing the results, they're chasing everything that moves, and a year has gone by, 2 years have gone by, 4 years have gone by, and they're like, look, I feel ashamed of the fact that I have all this stuff. I have everything, all the tools necessary, but I still haven't produced. And I feel like, what the heck is going on? And usually when I look at their situation, Ingrid, it's the most common thing I see for why people aren't producing. It's they're lacking clarity. They're like me in the beginning, where they thought they had chosen a path, but they didn't realize that they were on a 12-lane highway and each lane was going to a different destination.
Wow. Yeah. I can certainly relate to that. I've had a similar circumstance, and honestly, like every year having been on this entrepreneur journey requires a different level of understanding and clarity for yourself. So I think I was in the same shoes. I was dabbling. I was trying to figure out what I actually liked. I think that's also fair that some folks need to give themselves some grace, that if you don't have clarity, I love the fact that you said, figure out what you don't like to do. And then that is a starting point for you. And I recently went through that this year, like, after having, done a lot of fix and flips and helping somebody. I stepped in to help somebody with their wholesaling company because they actually were a high producing team, but for whatever reason, the last 3 months they had been slacking. And because I sometimes lead with my heart, I just wanted to help. And then when I was doing it, I was like, I don't want to be doing this. What am I doing? Like, why am I helping knowing that I don't like doing this? And so I had to have that heart to heart conversation, be like, hey, I came in this, but I really just wanted it to be a temporary scenario to help you. Like, I can't stay here, and they understood. And it was a very, I don't know. It felt like a really great moment for myself knowing that I knew exactly what I didn't want. I didn't want to be that role, and it really it builds your confidence up. It really does, to know what you don't wanna do and have that essentially be a starting point. But I also do feel like people need to give themselves a little bit of grace, when they're first getting started and they're dabbling in, like, what makes sense for you, because you don't know what you don't like until you actually do it, in my opinion.
I agree with you wholeheartedly, 100%. And that's one of those things where I give grace to the people who are in the beginning, you're trying things out. And then after we've tried enough things and we've chosen something, it's important to commit and to lock in. And what's
Mhm,
funny is this past Sunday night, I did a training. I called it my last public training for 2025 because
mhm.
as the year's wrapping up, my calendar, my schedule isn't really allowing to do much more, anything like that. So we had about a little over 100 people on a Zoom this past Sunday. And I walked them through a tool that I use every single year. I use this tool actually multiple times throughout the year. It's a tool that I come back to whenever I'm lacking that clarity and that focus,
Mhm.
because our focus and our attention is the most valuable resource. And so this is the clarity tool. And this is actually something I learned from Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi, funny enough. This was years ago. I got this lesson from them when I went through their coaching program. And I mean, it's so funny how sometimes like you can go through a coaching program and there's so much information, but there's one thing that stays with you. And this was the one thing. And this was after, Tony Robbins has been in the transformation business now for the last 40 plus years, arguably the best business coach on the planet. And I see why, after I use this tool, why it's so helpful. And so I want to share that tool with everyone right now that's listening, because
Wow.
we don't want to wait till January 1st to start
Mhm.
mapping out 2026. Frankly, we should have been getting clear on it from November. And so there's a framework to clarity, and we're going to think about clarity something like a GPS. In fact, let me see if I can actually even share my screen.
Let me
Um,
know if you have a problem and
no, I
I'll
should be
see
able
what
to share it. Yep, I see it. Perfect. I'm able to share my screen. So look at this. Let me allow the system to do that. Cool. You should be able to see my screen. I wonder if I could
Mhm.
zoom in on it. I can if I do this. There we go. All right, so check this out, Ingrid. This is kind of cool, and this was actually fun for me to show everybody. If people could take a look at the date, and Ingrid, you can see this, right? Like, what's
Yeah.
that date say?
October 29th, 2019.
All right, so
Mhm.
October 29th, 2019. I filled this in some time ago, and I like showing people my answers that I used from back then, because we're going to walk through it right now. So for people who are watching this, whether they're watching it live, this is going to be like, pull out your own notepad, start to write down with us as we go. If you're not driving, if you're watching this as a replay, have your notepad and pen and paper ready, and go ahead and like pause the video as you watch this as a replay, so you can come back and like really give this the time it needs. And so ultimately there's 4 pillars to discovering clarity. This is a blueprint. This is a framework for clarity. And so let's think about clarity like a GPS for a moment. A GPS is a tool used for getting you from where you are to where you want to be. Awesome, right? Clarity is a tool for getting you from where you are to where you want to be able to achieve goals, hit accomplishments, earn a certain amount of money, get into a certain amount of shape. Awesome, great. And so for a GPS to work, I always ask people, what does it need? And the most common answer I typically hear from people is they're like, well, you got to tell the GPS where you want to go. And I'm like, yes. However, before you tell the GPS where you want to go, you actually need to tell the GPS something even more valuable. You have to tell it where you are. What's your present location?
Mhm.
Because without the present location, there's no reference point for the direction. If you're standing in Texas, I'm going to give you very different directions to get to California versus if you're standing in Washington State. So having your present location, the truth about where you are in life is absolutely critical. And you want to be as objective here as possible, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And so right now I'm going to prompt you through, or I'm going to prompt the audience through the current status, the truth of where they are. And I want y'all to write these answers down for yourself, especially if you're watching this as a replay. After I go through the prompt, just pause the video and answer. And so when you're being honest with yourself, I want you to ask yourself, where are you currently in life? Global picture in your life in general. Like you take this where you want to take it. And so for myself, when I first answered this question, I'm going to read the answers I actually wrote for myself. And I wrote, I was living at home with my mom and my sister. I was in a relationship with a woman who's 12 years older than me that has 2 kids, which, side note, guys, like I'm not even able to afford my own life. I live at home with my mom and my sister, not because I love my mom and my sister that much. It's because I couldn't afford to move out. I would love to have been able to move out. I would have loved to have been able to afford different things in life, but that's just financially where I was at. So I was at home because I didn't have the options. And so now I'm dating this woman who's older than me with 2 kids. And even though she never put any sort of pressure on me to say like, hey, you need to take care of them, she never ever asked me for a dollar. I still, as a man, I wanted to be able to provide. I wanted to be able to step up personally. That was my own goal. And I couldn't. So I didn't feel very good about where I was personally, like as a man in that season of life. And I shared here, I'm not sure. I wasn't sure yet of what my next steps were. I just knew that what I was doing wasn't working. Where I was at in life, what with work, with bills, with everything, I was just like, this, if I get more of this life that I'm living, I'm even more unhappy. That was a tough thing to admit, by the way, because I'm this person that always walked around with a smile on my face. From my health standpoint, right? And I want you to think in other areas. Like, so in my health, I was in great shape. I'm not going to say I wasn't. I've always kept pretty healthy. I felt healthy, healthier than I've ever been. However, I was starting to see that I couldn't rely on my youth forever. The days where my body was sore and hurt from training, I wanted to be able to rest and reset, but I couldn't because I had to go and work to earn money. See, the 3 jobs that I kept during that time was one, I was a professional parkour coach and athlete. So I was always using my body for flips and tricks and all that fun stuff. I worked in the restaurant, so I was on my feet for hours at a time. And then at nights, I used to go to AutoZones and I would push around a heavy industrial buff, and I'd be mopping floors with all these chemicals to clean the AutoZones. And I could only do it at nighttime when AutoZone was closed. That way you didn't interfere with daytime business. So I'd be up from 10, 11 o'clock at night till 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning cleaning these AutoZones. I kept a wacky schedule back then. I mean, I was just all go, go, go. And I realized I couldn't rely on that. I couldn't just use my body forever because I was starting to slowly feel, the body isn't rebounding as quickly as it used to. The body is getting more tired. My energy levels aren't infinite anymore. I am starting to slowly feel the effects of age, even though I was still just in my mid-20s. Financially, I was only earning about $24,000 a year. Luckily, at that time, I didn't have any debt. That was about to change once I had jumped into that real estate program. But I didn't know how to earn more money. And everyone around me seemed to just be comfortable in middle class. There was no one I could go and talk to talk about how do we create wealth? How do we create more money? How do I become rich? I wanted to be rich. And I had no reference point for that. I thought that the wealthiest person I knew was my best friend Rob, his dad, because he drove a Jaguar. Like that was to me, rich was he had a Jaguar. He was still just a middle class, great guy, but just a middle class guy. Relationship, I'm in a great relationship. However, I can't afford to take care of myself, let alone my girlfriend and her kids. And I'm starting to stress out because I'm not feeling like enough of a man. Right. Again, and that was something I didn't feel comfortable even talking about to other people, but I had to admit it to myself. And for business, I work for someone else. I don't have any control over my earning potential. I don't have control over my time. I just show up and I get what they will give. And in other areas of my life that mattered to me, all right, I was in school full time, but I didn't want to do that anymore. And I felt like I was living somebody else's dream. So
Wow.
just to stop for a moment, I want to look at you guys. I share this because I want you all to see where I was at in that season of my life. Now, for some of you on this audience, in the audience that know me, you obviously know I'm in a very different season. But by being real with myself, I was able to get a clear jump off point. And it was interesting, Ingrid, when I was writing it out, it was putting to words things that I was feeling that I hadn't even fully acknowledged myself. And I was able to say, like, wow, like that's what's been eating away at me inside. Like the fact that like I can't provide for, like I can't provide. I don't feel like a provider. That hurts.
Mm.
So for the audience listening, I want y'all right now, or if you're watching this as a replay, if it's live, we're gonna keep going because I want to get through all the prompts. But this is an exercise that, frankly, I give myself maybe 2 hours, sometimes 3 hours once a year, where I will sit down and just put pen to paper, fill out full notepads, several pages as I'm answering this to get insight about my current situation, my current status.
And can I pause you for just a moment? I will say that as a working mom, business owner, somebody expected to constantly be networking, I also recognize that, telling yourself, go spend this quiet time feels sometimes burdensome or that you don't deserve that time. I've had those feelings myself where it's like, I have to constantly be on the go and doing and know that this is a part of doing. This is a part of taking that time, really focusing on you and getting more centered. Um, and for me, it's specifically like until I really put some like going through this exercise with you when we were running a couple of those workshops,
Mm-hmm.
like this is when I finally had my breakthrough where I decided not to think about anything else, focus on me, focus on what's going to help me get me to the next step, not necessarily the next like level, but the next step in my journey. And finally I had the breakthrough, but I had to give in. I had to just let my brain chill for a minute and focus exactly on this, like where am I, and ultimately, why am I doing what I'm doing? Mhm.
100%. Well, you know what, Ingrid, what's funny is over the weekend, I actually sat down with this prompt to myself, this clarity tool. Luckily, I had the house to myself. Everybody else was out. And so I was able to sit at my kitchen table and I spent, I think, Saturday night, maybe about 3, 4 hours just going
Mhm.
through this tool again, because you can never have too much clarity. And I liken it to if you and I were going to go and wander through a forest, a jungle, and every mile or so, I said, "Hey, Ingrid, hold up. I just want to check back in on the map." I don't think you would have any issue with that. Versus in comparison, right? You and I are walking through the jungle. We've got a 30-mile trek. And I say, hey, Ingrid, we're not checking the map until we hit mile 15, regardless of if we're heading in the right direction. Until it shows 15 miles on my counter, we're not going to check back in on the map. You might be like, dude, but what if we at mile 7 got off track and now we're 8 additional miles in the wrong direction? And that's what most people do. They don't check
Mhm.
back in. So
Mhm.
having clarity is one of those things you can never do often enough. You can never check in often enough. And so let me bring it back over here to this. All right, I think we can see that. Perfect. So obviously you guys are going to fill in. These are all the same. I give this as a sheet to my people to be able to fill in for themselves. They fill that in. But now think about this. What do we do? If you actually took the time to stop and do this, obviously, if you're watching this live, you're not done writing out the answers. But if you're watching this as a replay, you just took the time to identify your current location. Great. Now the GPS can begin to get that critical information of where do you want to go. However, sometimes people struggle with this, where do you want to go? Because it's also like asking, what do you want? If you remember that scene from the Notebook where he's like, what do you want? And he's like, I don't know. And he's
This
like,
is the
what do you
second
want?
time. This is the second time Notebook has come up today. So funny. I
Yeah,
was
it's
I
good.
was
It's
I
a
was
good
like,
movie.
"Look, guys, every partnership ends. Every partnership ends, and not everything is a Notebook moment where I won't give it away, but just know every partnership ends."
Yeah.
So,
It's
anyway.
but like it's that scene stays in my mind from the movie
Mhm.
because it's so interesting. When you do ask people what do they want, it's we're not used to being asked that question if we're being honest,
Nope.
right? In school, you're taught like go do this, your parents tell you what to do. And so, like for the first 18 years, let's say conservatively, the first 18 years of your life, you're being told what to do, when to do, how to do it, and who to do it with. And then after that, you're now labeled an adult. And they said, okay, well, now what do you want to do? Well, damn, that's the first time anyone's ever asked me that question.
Mhm.
So I don't really have an answer yet. I don't actually know. So it's one of those things that people struggle with when I ask, well, what do you want? And so a way of being able to identify what you want is we do this 1 year look back exercise. And the 1 year look back exercise looks something like this. I want you to, for a moment, imagine, right? So you would close your eyes if you're not driving. If you're watching this as a replay, close your eyes and you'd begin to imagine, what would my life look like if for the next 365 days, let's say you and I, myself, me, Ingrid, and you are sitting at a coffee table and
Mhm.
we haven't seen each other in a year. So it's, what is it? Today is December 17th. It's December 17th, 2026. So it's been a full year. We have not seen each other. We have not spoken. We have not interacted. But you're catching me up on the year that you just had. And you're telling me, like, yo, Marlon, this was the best year of my life. I don't know what happened. It's like the stars aligned. I just put my head down for the whole year. I stayed focused. I worked my guts out. I tapped into that version of me that, typically only shows up on game day. I started treating every day like game day, realistically. Like I showed up and I gave my all every day, even on the bad days, even on the days where I was low energy. I still stuck to the plan. I stuck to the discipline. And although my performance wasn't the highest that day, I still gave my all that day. And there was this incremental improvement that occurred over the year. Realistically, what would you want to be able to look back at the end of that year and tell me you accomplished realistically? Now, why do I keep saying the word realistically? If you've never done, for example, $1 million in a year, don't tell me realistically at the end of this year you're going to make $100 million, because I'm going to look at you and be like, you don't even believe that. I want to
Mm.
know, what do you believe is possible for you? If you're like, yo, you know what? I remembered a season in my life. Maybe it was high school, maybe it was college, when I locked in. I put my head down. I got to work. I didn't get distracted. I said no to everything else. And I locked in and I got it done. I had support from my team. I had support from my family. I had support and belief in myself. I locked in. What would your year look back like? And you're going to actually write it out. But as you write it out, you're writing it out to me as if it already occurred. So you're speaking about it in the past tense. And so when I did this for myself, like, I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. So it's a year from now, what happened? And this is what I wrote out 6 years ago. I wrote, I had the greatest year of my life. I learned how to make more money than I ever made before, and I still get to help people. I began investing in real estate and I learned how to make these win-win situations because, Ingrid, you know this about me. I came from the world of coaching kids and parkour, and I had this passion for people. And so it was important for me that I be able to support and help and grow people, but I also needed to make money. And I always felt like back then that somehow if you made money, you couldn't help people, or if you were helping people, you had to be broke to do it. And so I found this place where those two passions came together and I can make money for helping people. I can help people and make money. So I began investing in real estate. I learned how to make these win-win situations. I traveled to new places and I became friends with multimillionaires. I was no longer just friends with the suburban middle class, but I actually started to meet people who lived that 7, 8, and 9-figure life, and they helped me to grow. And my podcast really took off, and it began to help me help countless strangers. And I continued to stay in the best shape of my life. I progressed as an athlete. I hiked new mountains. I gained new mobility in my body that I never had before. I made $10,000 per month wholesaling real estate, and I finally learned how to earn money. I earned more money than I've ever earned before without needing to use my physical body anymore. I was able to become the man that could support himself and his family. I made new friends who elevated me, and my relationships with my girlfriend only grew deeper. We learned how to have hard conversations, and we only grew stronger because of them. My business is able to support me and allow me to work virtually from anywhere. I'm able to hire people that not only build my dreams, but it also helps them to support their lives. And I've read at least 50 books throughout this year, and I'm proud to say that I've become the man that doesn't just read the information, I apply the information from those books. I have now become one of those people that I look up to.
Woo wee!
And so, Ingrid, what's interesting is I wrote that out 6 years ago. And so, you know me. And again, some of the people I see, Caroline on here, I see people that actually know me in the audience because we have a lot of mutual friends. And some of the people that know me now, they're like, oh, I remember I read this to the group on Sunday. And some of the people who've got to know me over the last year, 2 years, they're like, holy moly, Marlon, bro, you did it. Like you wrote it down all those years ago, and they know that all the things I've read out, I have accomplished those things. But what
Yeah.
happened? I created a picture in my mind of where I wanted to go and the sort of man I wanted to become a year from now, and I spoke it as if it already happened.
Mhm.
So that's now how we start to give the direction of this is where we want to go. So it's not just where am I, but also where do we want to be? And again, guys, this is a framework. You fill in the blanks with your own situation. Who cares about my story? My story is irrelevant to any of you. I don't say it to impress you. I say it to impress upon you what starts to happen when you start to get a clear vision of your future, right? Without a clear vision of the future, you're going to end up nowhere.
Mhm. I love it. I love it so much because it allows you to speak with more conviction. One, when you have such a clear path, it actually adds more confidence when you can sit there and visualize what you want that path to look like. Um, the other piece I was going to mention is that when you go through this exercise, it's proving to yourself that you can take the time and plan. And
Yep.
that literally sometimes is like the hardest part.
Yeah.
It's not the
Well, you know
doing,
what?
it's like the preparing.
I love that you say that because even the fact that when people take the time to plan, it shows, in my opinion, that you value yourself and that you're
Yes.
worth the preparation. You're
Yes.
worth the thought. You're worth the energy.
Mhm.
So
Yes.
if we keep going here, what did we do? Let's recap, quick recap. We identified current location, where we're at right now. We identify the 1 year look back where we are going. And as you write it out, it's so important that you communicate it in the past tense. Even as I spoke that out loud, you want to be able to communicate it with conviction. If it should sound like you believe yourself. And if you don't, that's an issue. I'm going to tell you that's why I said realistically, because I knew, and it's funny, right? Like I'm going to go back up here for a second. For example, $10,000 a month wholesaling. That used to be the goal. We have done well more than that. We've far surpassed that goal. I'm grateful to say. But at that season of my life, that was a major milestone. Before this moment, the most I ever made in a single paycheck, I think the most I ever made in a single paycheck working bi-weekly, 40 plus hours plus overtime was like a little over $1,000. And I remember Ingrid thinking, I was like, whoa, that's so much money on a single paycheck.
Mm.
$1,000. Holy moly. Right.
Can I
But
pause
it's
you
all
for
I
a
knew.
moment though? Because you put this out there back in 2022. You forced us to say, let's have a six-figure month.
Yep.
And that month, when every day that January, I started writing it down because that was one thing that you were teaching us. And I did my first six-figure wholesale that February when you were like declaring it. You're like, let's let's make it six-figure February or something like that.
Yeah. That's
And
exactly what it was.
and that's exactly what happened. Guys, there is so much power in prepping and planning and picturing and sticking to what that picture, sticking to that picture. I like to say it's called priming your RAS, your reticular activating system, because
Yep.
the universe and your brain want to be your ally. And that means they want to show you that you can and will do what it is you say you're going to do. But you have to first prime it. You have to tell it what is it that you're going to go do.
You got to tell it what's important. You got to tell it what frequency, what channel are we looking for in the universe?
Mhm,
What lane is ours? What belongs to us? And it will start to actively go out. The mind is so powerful. It will
mhm,
actively start to say, okay, well, that's what you're looking for. That's what you think is important. Let me go and get that for you. And let me go and shift everything else out of the way and get rid of all the other nonsense and get you closer to it. But a lot of people, they don't have that target, or the target keeps changing every day. They keep moving the goalpost. And so you never
mhm.
give time for it to actually to play out. And so
Yeah.
I'm going to show y'all now something. And this is speaking of giving it time to play out. Why don't people give it time to play out? Because we identified where we are. We identified where we want to go. And now if we're looking at a GPS and we're looking at about taking a journey, the journey needs fuel, right? The car needs fuel to go. It needs gas for the car to move. And the gas for us, the fuel for us is knowing our why. And it's so cliche. You got to know your why. But what I found is things become cliche for a reason. The reason something becomes a cliche is because it was said so much, because there's usually a lot of truth and wisdom to a cliche. We're just upset by the fact that it has to be said always over and over and over again.
Mhm.
And so knowing your why is so important, not for the days that you're feeling motivated. Knowing your why is important for the day that you don't feel like doing it.
Mhm.
The day you feel like giving up, the day where the deal that was supposed to be a done deal, that was supposed to pay back all the debt, ends up blowing up in your face. And you did everything right and it still fell apart. And you have to
Mhm.
ask yourself, why am I doing this? And if you have not preemptively answered that question, and you're now going to wait till your lowest point in life to ask yourself, why am I doing this? Do you think the answer you're going to give yourself is going to be a good answer? No. You're going to be like, yeah, why am I doing this? Real estate entrepreneurship, this sucks. This is terrible. I could just have a regular job. I know people that are like, I could have worked at Circle K and made more money. But ultimately, there's something that inspired you to begin this journey to believe, to start. And what's so interesting is, without knowing the people who are watching this, I know something about the people who are watching this. I know that if you're on this path of entrepreneurship, I know that you saw a vision at some point in your life. Maybe you saw a mentor, a guru, a Tony Robbins. You watched Ingrid on stage. You listened to a podcast. Something inspired you. And when you saw that, you didn't think to yourself, wow, that's going to be so easy. You thought to yourself, wow, that's possible. And then you
Mhm.
were crazy enough to think to yourself, huh, I also think it's possible for me. I'm going to remind you to remember that. And remember why you wanted to go for it. Because for myself, Ingrid, when I started to think about my why, and like it's funny, I don't even have to read this, but we're going to look at this for my why. Like, why were my goals so important to me? Well, I shared here, these goals are important to me because my students, those kids I used to coach in parkour, I had I'm not exaggerating, over 1,000 students that I worked with over the course of about 7, 8 years. And those kids grew up with me. I spent more time with those kids than any other person outside of their parents with them. And it was such a interesting experience for me because I was the youngest in my family among siblings and cousins. And so I didn't have anyone growing up behind me. So I was never able to lead people. And so it wasn't until I was in front of those kids that I was in this position of leadership with them. And I was a mentor. I was an older brother. I was a guide, whatever you want to call me. Right. I became that person for them. And so, Ingrid, when I used to sit down and ask these kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to do with your life? The most common answer I would hear is, Marlon, I want to be a parkour coach. I want to be a parkour athlete and a parkour coach. And I'm like, yeah, I'm ruining kids. I'm literally thinking to myself, like, I'm ruining their lives right now because I'm at that place where I'm in my mid 20s and I'm seeing that life costs money. Having a
Mm.
family costs money. Bills need to be paid. And as a parkour coach and a professional athlete, there's not a lot of money in that sport. It's like the person who's the greatest at, I don't know, like some weird fringe sport. Like it's like the best badminton player. I don't know I don't think there's a lot of money in badminton, right? Like I don't think badminton players are rolling around in Lamborghinis. I think they probably struggle to pay their bills, but they play the game because they have a passion for it. I don't know. I could be totally wrong. Badminton could probably be crazy up there, but the sport of parkour, there was not a lot of money in it. And so now when these kids are telling me that all they want to do with all their time is become the parkour coach and athlete, they're saying that because every day I'm showing up to work and I love what I do. I'm passionate about this and I'm enjoying my life. But they think that I'm enjoying my life strictly because I'm a parkour coach. And they're making this correlation here, not realizing that when I leave work, I am stressed to my eyeballs with how am I going to afford my life? How do I eventually move out? How do I take care of my girlfriend? How do I do this? How do I do that? I don't know. And so now I feel like the Pied Piper leading these kids into the desert where, great, let me take your most productive learning years. Let me take the years where you have the most opportunity in front of you, and let me have you funnel it at this opportunity that leads nowhere, to a desert without an oasis.
Mm.
Didn't sit well with me. That's actually, a lot of people don't know that about me, but that was a major catalyst as well as why I was like, you know what, I need to go and pursue how to earn money and how to do it in a way where I still love my life so that I can show these kids. I can be an example. And I kind of share here, right? Like I wanted to be an example of what life can be for my students. I wanted to show them that it was possible to have what you want and to earn it on your terms. I wanted to be that living example that they could come to and seek wisdom from. I wanted to support myself and my future family. I wanted to know that while I'm around, while I'm alive on this earth, that those I care about will be protected and given the freedom to pursue their dreams, whatever their dreams may be. And again, I also want to show them in real life an example of what it means to play the game of life with a mindset to win, not just a mindset of how do I not lose. I wanted to make my inner child proud. Ingrid, I wanted to know that if I traveled in a time machine and I went back and I met my 10-year-old self, that he would be stoked at the idea of growing up to be me. I wanted to prove to myself that I would make the most with the time I had in this life. And this is just, I'm guys, like this answers weren't for anyone else. This was for me. I
Right.
was curious to know what life had the potential to be. I wanted to experience all that I could. Guys, I wanted to be rich. I wanted to have money so I can go and buy fun things, so I could go and travel around the world, so I could drive fast cars. It's weird, but I used to feel ashamed about saying the fact that like I want to earn money so that I can experience things. I also want to give to charity, right? Like last night we got to go out and
Oh
do
my
an
gosh.
angel
Can
tree,
we talk
and
about that?
yeah, 100%. Like we got to go. Like that's been something that I've always wanted to do for so long. Something of that nature where we got to go out to Walmart, fill up 2 full shopping carts for children for their Christmas gifts, and not just things I think they wanted. Like these are gifts that they have selected themselves. Like they went down, they wrote it out. This is exactly what they want, and we're able to go there for families who can't afford, right? Because they don't have the financial means. It's single moms, single fathers, people that are living below poverty. They can't afford to give their children Christmas gifts. And they were, the parents put their ego to the side and have accepted help from strangers and allow us to now be a blessing for their family, right? But it takes money to do that. I can't just walk and say, well, I'm a good person. Let me get the gifts. No, they're going
Mhm.
to say cash or credit.
That's right. I also want to give a shout out to Caroline Kane because I remember talking to her about this and how this was one of her very specific goals. She wanted to have the financial wherewithal to be able to go to that tree, see all the things, and I think she put a really beautiful story of like, not well, the story was that somebody um, asked for a very specific color of a jacket and they didn't buy them that jacket. They bought them a different color. And unfortunately, I think it was like a sibling or something took the jacket because that was their favorite color. So it created friction. So one of the catalysts and motivations with Caroline was like, I want to get them exactly what they're asking for on those cards
Yeah.
and feel happy and proud that I have the ability to do that. So I just want to give so much shout out to that beautiful ginger Caroline Kane. I love her so much.
Dude,
To
she's
have
awesome.
such a wonderful vision like that. And then she brought you along,
Well,
which I
what's
love
funny, so
it.
she's the one that introduced the angel trees. Never heard of angel trees before this, right? I've seen other things like on YouTube and like Instagram. Like there's a guy, MD
Mhm.
Motivator. So Caroline introduced angel trees to me. And what's funny is we were in the Walmart last night as we're doing this, and it took us over 3 hours to get all the things because I like Caroline didn't tell me that story about the jacket, but I
Mhm.
was looking like a kid asked for like Hot Wheels things, right? And like so I'm in the car section and there's Matchbox and there's this and there's that. And we were like, oh, well, we could just grab that. I was like, no, like I just remembered being a kid. If I wanted a Hot Wheels, I wanted a Hot Wheels. Like there was the magic was in the Hot Wheels. Hot Wheels was the thing that caught my attention. The logo, the brand, the colors, all of that stuff is what I think I want. And even though the Matchbox might be exactly the same as an adult, I know that as a child, I didn't. And so I was like,
Mhm.
how messed up would that be if this kid unlocks, open, thinks they're getting Hot Wheels, and like the level of disappointment of like, oh, it's a Matchbox, and now I got to pretend to be happy. And you're thinking, I know, yes, the kid should be grateful. Like, no, that kid should be surprised. That kid should be able to enjoy the magic while they're still a child. They should like have that moment. In my opinion, that's my opinion at least.
I'm with you 100%. I feel like we have to be so much better at protecting our kids, having those childlike experiences where they make sense, right? Like if your kid's asking for, a $3,000 camera. One of my kids is right now. It's like,
It's like, well, here's the job application that you wished for that can help you get there.
Yeah, yeah. So there, I mean, he's about to turn 19. That boy's an adult now, but yeah, I mean, there's a level of magic that it's so special to be able to get. And these kids are young. These are like single digit number year old
Oh,
kids,
yeah.
right? You know, barely going into being teenagers. And so there's I applaud you. I applaud Caroline. Such a cool moment. Next year, bring me along. I'd love to help. Um, that's such a cool moment, so
Absolutely.
super
Yeah,
cool.
no, for sure. Next year, we'll definitely do it even bigger. All right.
Let's do it.
And what's cool though is like
Yes.
it comes back to this, like it's a part of the why, right? It's
Mhm,
and I
mhm,
shared this briefly last night on like a quick little Instagram live I did where I just said, hey, as I'm doing this, and I was just having an honest reflection moment of like, hey, like as I'm doing this, it's occurring to me that maybe this year I was blessed in my business and blessed in my finances so that I could be a blessing to others, right?
mhm.
Because I don't have anyone that knows me knows I don't really have expensive taste personally. I live pretty frugally, even though I'm earning more money now than I've ever earned before, and I'm grateful for that. And like again, I don't say that like I'm earning more money to impress you. I say to impress upon you. This is what happens when you start to get clear on the life you want to create. Life doesn't happen on accident. And so to just bring this home full circle, right? The fourth pillar of clarity is think about it. We now know where we are. So we got our starting point, the truth. We know where we want to be, our 1 year look back. We have our why. We know why it actually matters to you. And if you struggle to think about your why, I'll tell you what. I'll be the bearer of bad news. The goal that you have isn't actually your goal. If you can't tell me why you want a thing, but you think you're convinced you want this thing, but you can't tell me why you want it, I'll tell you what, somebody else sold you on an idea. You're chasing someone else's vision and dream. Maybe it's your mom, maybe it's your dad, maybe it's your favorite guru on the Instagram, on YouTube, on the internet, but you're chasing someone else's vision of success. Figure it out for yourself. I'm just going to be blunt about that. I'm giving you have permission to build your own dream. You have permission to go after what matters to you, and it doesn't need to impress anybody else. It doesn't need to sound good to anybody. It should only impress you first. If you're not excited about your life, why should anyone else care?
Can
So,
can I pause you for a moment, Marlon?
yeah, of
Because
course.
the first year I went through this exercise, I actually struggled with my why, and I felt like putting, like, my family or my kids as my why felt
Mhm.
fake. It felt fake,
Yeah.
and, but it's what I put my first year because it was kinda, like, noble, you know what I mean? It didn't feel and then the second time I went through this exercise with you, one thing we did that was super different, and so I just wanna kind of help like, you really need to prime yourself first before you go through this exercise, is my personal opinion. One of the things that we did first the second time around is we went and did that breath work exercise to kinda, like, really meditate and get to the point where we had, like, stillness, I feel, and then I was able to figure out my why, and my why, was to be able to make my young self proud. Like,
Mm.
it made me cry, like, to think about it, and, the reason why I brought that as my why, because I had a very, I'll call it traumatic upbringing when I immigrated to the United States, and it felt like, you know, kind of what we were talking about, like the angel trees and stuff like that, like, and people wanting or making sure we were getting what the kids actually want. Um, it felt like that kind of exchange for me. Like, I sacrificed so much, like most of my family is in Colombia. I was very alone here in the United States, even though I had my mom and my sister at the time when all of that was happening. It still felt very, very lonely, and it was like going through that exercise was like, "Okay, I'm really doing that for younger Ingrid who deserved a better life as a young kid, and that's why I want a better life for my family and for my children so that when they're going after it, they understand, like, why they're also motivated to do what they need to do." So anyways, it took me a long time to get to that point, though. And so, like, understand that it may not come as easy, and that's why it's important for you to have really, like, wonderful mentors like Marlon, who can really help get you to that point if you're willing to put in the work.
Yeah. Well, I think it's people being able to have permission to choose themselves, which is it's one of those. And as a people pleaser in recovery, let me just tell you right now, I'm a people pleaser in
Samesies, yeah,
recovery.
yeah.
Okay, like I know how to people please. I know how to say yes. I used to be a yes man to everything.
Mhm,
I wanted everyone else to feel comfortable because I
mm,
felt so uncomfortable myself all the time.
mhm,
And I remembered, Ingrid, having this breakthrough insight, which is, do I want people to copy what they see me doing externally, or would I rather them copy how I feel internally?
mm.
And this is something for parents to think about for a moment. Guys, if you're a parent and you're looking at your goals and you're like, "Well, I can't afford the luxury of thinking for myself because I have my children." Well, what I learned from working with children, and this is why parents thought I was the Pied Piper. Parents used to come to me like, "How do you get them to listen?" I'm like, "It's really easy. I don't ever ask them to do things that I'm not doing myself." Because I learned from kids, they don't listen to what I tell them to do. They copy what they see me doing. And kids are extremely intuitive. And so they can pick up on feelings and they pick up on the reality of what's happening, not the words coming out of your mouth. And so,
Mhm.
with that being the case, if kids are going to mimic and copy you, do you want your child? If I told you, hey, your kid's going to grow up and your kid's going to be this person that everybody in the community loves and adores, they're going to get all the accolades. People are going to clap for them when they walk down the street. They're going to make great money. But internally, your kid's going to be depressed because they're doing it for show.
Mhm.
Ouch. Lands a little bit different. Well, what are you teaching them if that's how you live? Because your why isn't a real why to you. You're teaching them, hey, I want your life is only meant to be sacrificed for the benefit of everyone else around you. Ah, I think there's a door three where your life, you can grow and shine as bright as you possibly can so that others can do the same. You live in authenticity so that others can live the same. And so
Mhm.
let me share this final point here with everyone. With We've got our starting point, we got our destination, we got our fuel, we know why we want to do it, but we need capabilities. Because the reality is, if you already could do it, you'd have already been doing it.
Already been doing it. Mhm.
It's like, guys, it's not rocket science. I love when people are like, well, I could if I wanted to. It's like, well, then why didn't you? Because you can't, because something is missing, and that's okay. At all points, we're in some level of development getting to the next stage. Great. So, my question to this is, how do we figure out what's our missing capabilities? Because with new capabilities, we will be able to achieve the vision. And the way I think about it is like this: if I look to my left, there's the current version of Marlon with all of his greatness and all of his awesomeness, but also all of the current present day limitation. And when I look to my right, I see that Marlon, January 17th, 2026. And if I were to take those two and I put them side by side, what would I be able to notice and identify objectively as the differences between them? What would I see? What would I look and say, well, you know what? That 2026 Marlon, he's more confident. He's in better shape. He looks well rested. He looks like he's getting his sleep. That he knows how to communicate. He's able to articulate his words. He's got sales skills. He understands marketing. He understands leadership. Whatever it is, I would start to identify what is it that that version of Marlon can do that this current version of Marlon can't do that makes it so that that version of Marlon is achieving the results. Like, what skills and capabilities does he have that makes the results that we're looking for inevitable? And so these are the capabilities. And what I started to do is I started to identify, well, when I was looking back at it or looking out into the future, if you will, I said, well, that version of Marlon, he has to learn how to communicate at a higher level. I'm a talker now. Growing up, I was not a talker. Growing up, I was the epitome of children are meant to be seen, not heard. So, learning how to communicate, people think I'm extroverted, and I laugh at that because it was all learned behavior. My ability to go out and communicate and talk and be in front of rooms, that was learned behavior. In fact, earlier today, Ingrid, I was talking to one of the people inside of my community, Laura. She had asked me, like, hey, how do you communicate? Like, were you always such a natural communicator? I was like laughing. I was like, no, not at all. not even remotely close. And I'm still, quite frankly, getting better. But I do get complimented on my communication skill because I recognize it was a skill set. It was a capability that I needed to develop in order to achieve the goal that I said I wanted to achieve. And that future version of Marlon, when I saw him, he had no problem talking. Right.
Mhm.
I realized I had to learn how to invest my money and identify growth opportunities. I was a great saver, terrible investor. I realized I had to learn how to sell. I learned how to learn how to plan. I had to learn how to sit down, and I couldn't just be go with the flow anymore. Right. Like I still am go with the flow in my life, but my business, I found out business doesn't thrive off of go with the flow mentality. Right. There's a
Mhm.
reason you don't see hippies on the Fortune 500. I had to learn how to market, how to communicate what it was that I had. I had to learn how to create systems so that things can be done over and over and over again. I had to learn how to create discipline in my own life. And people looked at me physically, Ingrid, and this is one of the funniest things. Just because a person's in shape doesn't necessarily mean they're disciplined. Wait, what? No, for real. Listen, I like working out. I like it's actually an escape for me. It's a cop out. Like if I go and work out, I love doing that. I let me go for a walk, let me go lift heavy things. It is so much fun. So although working out and going to the gym may be discipline for other people, for Marlon, it's a vacation. It's fun. It's an activity that I enjoy doing. So it doesn't require discipline. What does require discipline is when I need to sit down and respond to emails. What does require discipline is when I need to go take a meeting that I don't actually want to take, when I need to go and have a call and I need to let go of somebody. Like those, I don't like having those conversations. I want to avoid that kind of work. But that's what requires discipline for me. Waking up early in the morning, going to bed early at night, those things require discipline for me because they're the things I don't actually want to do. I had to learn how to prioritize actions that take me closer to my goals. It wasn't about having a to-do list. I would make these infinite to-do lists that never got me anywhere. I had to learn how to manage people because I realized I couldn't do it alone, but I had to get better about being able to communicate and delegate and ask for help. I had to gain leadership skills and learn what leadership actually was. I thought leadership was all about like getting in the front and being the best of the best of the best. Now my definition of leadership has changed so drastically as a result of realizing it was a capability that I needed. I started learning about leadership and I realized like, wow, a real leader actually gets out of their people's way. A real
Mhm.
leader is actually there to create the environment and opportunity for their people to grow, not try to outshine their people that they say they're leading. And I realized more than anything, I had to gain confidence in myself and my dreams. I was the person, Ingrid, I don't think up until I started like maybe like 2020, early 2021, I never shared my goals out loud with people because I was embarrassed. I like maybe some few select friends, but I would never actually say like I wouldn't get on a podcast and start talking about, hey, this is what I want to accomplish because they were near and dear to me. And if you thought my goals were stupid or you didn't think I could achieve it and you started to speak down on it, it felt like a direct. I didn't do well with rejection. I don't like being rejected. I don't think anyone does, but I really shut down on rejection.
Mm.
And so it's like I realized I had to be brave enough to have conviction and stand up for what I believe in, no matter what anyone else thinks. Like my goals are not contingent on your self belief, it's contingent on my self belief. So
Mhm.
these are the four pillars for clarity. This is the clarity tool. I want y'all pen and paper. Write write these answers out for yourself. And this should be an asset. Keep your answers the same way I love that I'm able to look back and like I obviously moved it to a digital copy because I had it written down on paper, but these are the same answers. And I love that now it's 6 years later and I could go back and I could show this to people, right? Like the homie sub two Drew, I could like he could see this and he's like, dang, bro, that's what you were thinking about years ago. Like, yeah,
I don't know if you
absolutely.
saw this. He wants abs like you, by the way.
I got you, brother. I got you. I'll let you in on my secret ab routine.
Wonderful. Guys, I know we're at the top of the hour. Marlon spit so much game and everything you went through right now. Somebody out there selling this for at least 5 grand. I'm just telling you that right now. They're gonna they like what you just went through this whole hour. People charge ridiculous amounts just to help you get to your next step in your journey. And so I got to say, Marlon, thank you so much for being such a giving person, wanting to change so many lives, wanting to be that pillar, that person who helps people get their goals. I mean, you are I don't know how to say it, like the goal guide. I don't I'm imagining you with like a wizard hat and like, let's go get your goals. I don't know.
Yeah,
Anywho,
maybe
but
2026 I'll change my name to Merlin. I'll be
Merlin, oh,
Merlin the
that's right.
Wizard.
I forgot that people accidentally call you Merlin all the time. But this has been so fantastic and a strong reminder for me to go through the same exercise because luckily I'm friends with you, and luckily because we're friends, I've gone through this exercise with you as a result, and it's so helpful. Literally, guys, spend the time to do it. It's so helpful. And even if it's not, like, we're not going after perfection here, but you have to have some level of focus if this is what you want to do. Like, if a crackhead can focus on going to get that money, go get that crack, you can focus on what am I going to do to go get these goals in 2026. I'm just saying, focus, people. Um, Thank you so much, Marlon. Guys, make sure you're following Marlon on Instagram, Mindset Marlon, as you see his name out on the screen. And what else you got coming up, Marlon? Like, I need more of this. Like, where else can I get some of this?
Yeah. Right now, what I'm doing this year, 2026, actually, I'm super excited about this. The
Okay.
last quarter, I've been just focused head down. I've been building out like an online community called the Millionaire Mindset Community, repping it right now. Super happy about it. Where it's just a community for mindset, like-minded entrepreneurs coming together, getting their heads focused, getting their mind focused every single day. And I say every single day because for the last 4 months, I've been doing a consistent morning call. We call it the Morning Mindset Coffee at 6 a.m. to 7 a.m., where I lead that coaching, I lead that training every day. And it's around mindset. It's around this kind of conversation. It's about getting focused, understanding the day's priority. And then we now march into the day prepped and ready. And inside the community, what's cool is people are sharing in fact, can I share my screen real quick?
Absolutely. I was just going to ask, how do you join the Millionaire Mindset
All right,
community?
so check this out, right? Because this is like pretty gangster. Like inside here, right? So this is Millionaire Mindset Community. Like if people go to school.com, SKOOL.com /MMC, they'll see this inside here, right? And what's cool is, and if you guys jump inside here, it's gonna say $350 per month. If you guys actually join inside today, you can get the premium for $99 or $100 a month before it goes back up to its original price, just because we're doing like an end of the year bonus right now. But check this out. In the calendar, we've been doing, look at this. I've been doing live trainings every single day inside the community. People, this is my favorite part. People come inside here and share their KPIs daily. So it's like people are taking action every single day, sharing their KPIs. People are sharing their wins. In fact, I just saw this Jen last night. She got a property locked up on the contract. So Michonne's getting her first contract. Jen's getting a contract. Brenda's inside here. She's been wanting to get back in shape, so she's working out regularly. Gerald's been sharing. He hit his first six-figure month. Like, guys, people, you're just around people who are winning. We got
Mm,
people who are focused on just creating better habits. And so I've created a relentless results protocol where people inside the classroom go inside here, they get access to that. So it's really dang cool because what's interesting is my goal was how do I give more in value for like a fraction of what people will go and pay 10, 15, $20,000 for? How do I give that at like the deepest fraction and then just over deliver? So for 2026, I'm going to be in a very interesting season, Ingrid. I may burn out. We'll see what happens. It's a bit of an experiment where I am like personally talking to and DMing and messaging every person inside my community, checking in on them, figuring out where they're at, what's going on with their goals, and making sure that they're supported and that we are getting things done by being clear and eliminating distractions. So, yeah, if people want to join into that, go to school.com, SKOOL.com /MMC. It stands for Millionaire Mindset Community. And when you join, if you jump in today, click on the premium. There's going to be 3 options. Due to premium, right now we're running a special where it's only $100 a month. After that, the price goes back up to its original $350 a month. I'm just going to tell you, you're going to regret if you don't jump in now because you're going to jump in later and you're like, dang, this is awesome. And $350 is still a steal. but at 100, it was like buying Bitcoin at $100.
I love it. Absolutely. And as somebody who has invested in herself, I'm telling you, it's worth it. Absolutely worth it. You are worth it to spend time on your goals and what you want to accomplish and how you want to change the world. So, Marlon, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. We put the information We'll put this specific information in the show notes so that folks
Mhm.
have it for reference. Again, that special discount, however, is only for a certain amount of time. So if you don't get it, I don't want you crying. Don't come crying to me. I'm done pleasing
They should
people.
have been here live. That's like, guys, like that's your for the people that join live. Now y'all see the benefit of when Ingrid says get on the live podcast. She means get on the live podcast. She doesn't
Eh,
mean come back and watch this as a
absolutely.
replay 2 months from now.
Mhm.
She means right now.
Yeah, that's right. Hi, Hector. Hi, Jerry. Thanks for the and thank you guys for being active in the chat. Really appreciate it. I mean, go love on Marlon. Go follow on his Instagram. And who knows? Maybe I'll find myself in the school MMC. Such a great way to start your day, honestly. So let's see. Oh, we have somebody who says the value from being a part of Marlin's school community is beyond inspirational. Oh, that's wonderful. Look at that. Already getting rave reviews. Hopefully you're getting reviews, Mr. Johnson.
I will tell you, I'm not even like not to toot my own horn, and like I mean this. We're doing like such a where I've got a full-time video and marketing guy coming on board because I'm not exaggerating. Every day I hear about 3 to 5 testimonials from people inside the community on results that are happening, whether it's them getting in shape, them earning more money, them overcoming limiting beliefs. And they're saying this out loud, they're sharing it. It's all recorded. There's only like, I'm literally at that place where it's like I am inundated with awesome testimonials and just now needing someone to help support, to push it out, to share it with other people. And I actually feel like this year I have a mission. I actually have a moral obligation to tell more people about the MMC room.
A
I
thousand percent.
valid, I 100% feel that because the amount of people that have come into that room and said to me, I wish I got in here a month ago, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, 6 months ago, a year ago. I'm now realizing I'm doing a disservice by not talking about it. And I used to be very bashful about like, oh, well, you should sort of join. Guys, I'm telling you this right now. You need to join, even if, especially if you feel overwhelmed, if you are in other spaces and you have all the information, you've got all the resources, but you're still not producing results and you're feeling overwhelmed. I promise you, you need to jump in there. You absolutely need.
Amen. Hmm. I love it. Well, thank
I'm
you
done.
so
I'm
much,
stepping off my
Marlon.
soapbox.
Thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it. I appreciate your friendship, your leadership, and as I told you in your previous stuff we've done in the past, like the sky is the limit for you, because you have such a big heart and you want to see people succeed. So I love it.
Thank you,
Well,
Ingrid,
guys,
and thank you for having me on the show. I appreciate you, and I gotta say, I am so proud of you because you are consistent. Oh my gosh, like how many episodes of Explain It podcast are you on? I feel like you have to have already crossed like over 100 plus episodes because you've been doing this
oh
for
yeah,
2 plus years now.
yeah. I've been doing this almost 3 years now. And I would say there's like a handful of days that I haven't done it in any given year. So, however many weeks there are, minus maybe 10 to 15 in the last 3 years, that's how many I've done for
So
sure.
impressive.
Yeah. Yeah, this is one of my priorities. I love it. I love having guests like you who are helping change and transform other people's lives and like or just really expose information and knowledge that can help somebody else get to the next level in their lives. And so it's so fascinating. People are amazing. Like, God works through us in so many different ways that I feel I have an obligation to share how other people are impacting the world and how other people can learn and be their best selves through that. So I love it.
So good. I love it. Well, awesome. Well, Ingrid, thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you guys. And thank you everybody for being out there and like sticking with us. We had a pretty steady audience this whole hour. So hopefully this was a ton of value. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, to my mindsets, to well, it's Mindset Marlin on YouTube as well, right?
Yep, it's mindset, Marlon, everywhere. We keep
Everywhere.
it simple for people.
I love it. I love it. So, again, guys, we do this podcast once a week, every Wednesday, 1 to 2 Arizona time. And so we will catch you guys next week as well. And see you then.